Madden 25 is now officially out, and that means it's time to do a review of the game and tell you whether or not you should buy it. The reason you can trust my review compared to some other creators is I am not paid by EA. I will be saying everything straight as it is, no punches will be held. I also have played almost all 10 trial hours in the process of doing my review. I've played all of the recent installments of Madden, and I am not negatively or positively biased towards the game. This is an objective, fact-based review. But let's not waste any more time and get straight into it. To start, we have to talk about the presentation of the game. To put this into words you can easily understand, this game has aura. The intro to the game is very well made. The menus look good and seem fast and fluid. The game is well optimized and performs better on my PC than Madden 24 did. It is very noticeable if you are playing Madden 25 instead of 24. In games, the presentation is a lot more clean and polished, with a new scoreboard at the bottom and overall less clutter. The game is a hybrid between College Football 25 and Madden, with similar presentation to College Football 25 in the camera and plays, along with the player models. Some of the player models do not look great in menus, but in game they overall look pretty solid. There are 3 broadcast crews now. There are new celebration animations and splash screens. For franchise mode, you have a new selection screen with top players and statistics, and once inside you will see new tabs to cycle through along with a new roster menu screen. I'm not sure if I am sold on the roster menu screen with the player picture in the top right. It's a little all over the place, but the more you look at it in game, the more you get used to it. Overall, I'm a big fan of the presentation of this game, and even if it is essentially a new coat of paint on a previously owned car, it still makes the game feel new and fresh and is overall an upgrade to Madden 24. In Madden 25, you will see the same modes you do every year, with Ultimate Team, Franchise, Superstar, which features a career mode and online play, and Quick Play with your online head-to-head, along with what I believe is the return of Superstar KO. I don't remember if it was in Madden 24. There are also mini-games featuring new drills that were in College Football 25. This review will not specifically touch on Ultimate Team or Superstar, so if you are looking for a review of specific features or content of those modes, I suggest watching a different video. The gameplay is a lot different in this Madden, as there are a lot of mechanics shared from College Football 25. However, it is not the exact same as College Football 25. The gameplay is less arcadey, as it should be considering the differences between college and pro football, but I would say the game still feels a bit too arcadey. There are lots of big runs, passes, fumbles, and interceptions. But if you are a fan of that College Football 25 style of gameplay, you will definitely enjoy this Madden more. There are also a lot of new plays with more pre-snap motion that match up with real-life team compositions. For example, there is a set with Jamar in the backfield for Cincinnati, and with Miami, we see a play that looks straight out of real life with Tyreek Hill running across the field and beating his man on a wheel route for a touchdown. But as for the negatives, the biggest one is the same as it is in a lot of Maddens, and that is the interceptions. There isn't necessarily crazy one-handed leaping catches, but there is corners running routes better than your receivers, QBs missing receivers for no reason, and even some crazy plays thrown in. My first pass in this Madden was a pick six, and overall the INTs are way out of control. You essentially have to lead and time every pass if your receiver is not perfectly wide open, and sometimes even if they are, you will still get punished. It is rare to see a game without a single interception thrown, whether online or offline. Runs from my limited experience feel really powerful, fumbles seem too often offline, and if you are somebody who cares about realistic gameplay, in my testing against the CPU, which was multiple full games, I only had one penalty, and that was a user intentional grounding. I'm not sure if this is a mistake or if they wanted to decrease the penalties for entertainment's sake, but either way it is very unrealistic. The gameplay has a new tackling and movement system, which I think is a positive. You will still see wacky animations and glitches, but overall the movement feels more fluid and responsive. To conclude this section, the gameplay seems to be an upgrade from Madden 24. You will likely get very frustrated when you start this game with the interceptions, but as you get more used to it, the game will become more fun. There is a new kick meter, which seems fine, and you have the option to change it back to the OG one if you don't like it, and of course there is the new kickoffs the NFL is using this year. Unfortunately, the biggest new feature for franchise will not be in this review. The big thing they showed was more cutscenes and interactions with players for more immersion. But I didn't want to spoil myself because I'm doing my own franchise mode, so none of that will be in this video. But most likely, this will be a really cool feature for your first couple franchises, and then you won't touch it again after that. As I talked about earlier, franchise has a ton of new menus and subscreens that, in my opinion, look great. There are new 3D logos for all the teams, updated player ratings and development traits, essentially all the stuff you expect for franchise. One thing I will say is that EA needs to do a better job at keeping the game up to date. At the time of this recording, there is no option to start in preseason week 2, even though it is about to start. And last year they had a similar problem where they only updated the start scenarios for the trade deadline, end of the season, and week 1. There are no new features to franchise staff or weekly game plans, and there is still no ability to give free agents custom contracts without editing the player manually. There is also still old positional terminology, which is disappointing considering they themselves used new updated positional terminology for the ratings reveal. I won't get too into it, but the reason this is an issue is because teams in this game have a different base scheme, being a 4-3 or a 3-4. In a 4-3, your edge rusher is listed at right end or left end, and in a 3-4, it is left outside linebacker or right outside linebacker. This becomes a problem when players change teams in free agency, as a 3-4 outside linebacker may sign with a team that uses a 4-3, and then you'll end up with TJ Watt becoming a 4-3 outside linebacker and essentially a coverage linebacker instead of a pass rusher. In terms of player likeness, all of the rookies look good. There are new face scans for many players, including Puka Nacua, and overall the face models look high quality. I just want to butt in here because I guess you could say I didn't quite do my due diligence in checking the player likeness stuff, because as I was getting footage for this video, I went through some more players and realized that Madden is actually doing a very bad job at getting the faces of real people into their video game. And I'll just kind of go through them with you on screen as I do this voiceover. So first we have JC Latham. That is not JC Latham. And here is Jonathan Brooks. Xavier Worthy looking more like Chris Jones than Xavier Worthy. Cooper DeJean looking nothing like himself. Byron Murphy, literally the top defensive player picked in the NFL draft. No face. This might be the craziest one out of all of them. Kyron Williams, who is a superstar development, was on an all-pro team last year. No face. It doesn't even look close to him. And to wrap it up, this is the player that actually made me aware of this. George Pickens, no face scan, and that's when I started to go down the rabbit hole. So overall, the players who are in the game look very good, but there is way too many people who are not in the game and do not have their likeness. EA needs to fix this immediately. For the simulation, from the limited test I did, it was a mixed bag. In my first simulation, I saw the Vikings make the Super Bowl, and in my second, I saw the Panthers make the NFC Championship. However, the NFL season is unpredictable and weird things happen, so it's hard to be too critical. Most of the simulation stats look fine, however, slot is still the king for receivers. The Chiefs seem pretty dominant in simulation, which isn't really a problem, but it seems like playbooks still play too big of a role in team success. Fortunately for me, I got a chance to test out the trade logic versus real life because Matthew Judon was traded to the Falcons for a 3rd round pick. If you try this in Madden, you will get no success, which is reasonable. This trade is widely seen as a finesse, and you want it to be harder for players to trade for people than it is in real life. But it seems like the trade logic is not very different or the same as last year. One feature I wish they would add is a trade override feature that you see in 2K, because in order to make a trade go through, you either have to edit a player to make them more/less valuable, or manually control both teams. The gameplay I touched on earlier, but yet again it seems not fit for realism, simulation style football. Obviously there will be sliders and mods for PC players that will make improvements, but Madden still needs to work on the gameplay. For franchise mode, not much seems to be different, however that is without me having used the biggest change they made to it. So if you want to see that, and if it is good, I recommend recommend checking out another video on it. In terms of online play, there isn't too much to say. Most of any of the coverage you would want to hear is covered in the gameplay section of this video. Superstar KO, I guess, is pretty fun. There is crossplay online, so you can play against friends on different platforms. And as of right now, there doesn't seem to be any cheesy mechanics, plays, or defensive coverages, but usually that sort of stuff is revealed further on in the gameplay cycle. But overall, online seems pretty alright. Madden 25, if anything, is more than just a reskin of 24. The gameplay is noticeably different, the presentation of the game is amazing, and to me feels like the best Madden we have gotten in some time. When it comes down to whether or not you should buy the game, it is a hard question to answer. Madden remains the only video game for the NFL and is overall an enjoyable experience. The game is priced at $70, which is definitely more than it is worth, but it still ended up getting my purchase. The truth is that there is no other game on the market that fulfills the role that Madden does. It is also worth noting that issues with the gameplay and roster for offline players will be remedied with the Creation Center, allowing you to download rosters, sliders, and draft classes which are now cross-platform. I overall enjoyed the time I put into making this review, and I think overall Madden 25 is a good product. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I make other content on rap if you are a fan of that, the NBA and NFL in general, along with a franchise that will be starting next week. Let me know in the comment section if you've made it this far into the video what team I should do in my franchise. But that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.